You probably already know that there are a lot of different, well, three main different ways of making a suit. Full canvas, the half canvas, and the fuse construction. Here, we need to focus always in half or full canvas, especially, Simon Crompton or Kirby Allison or the guys that are really into the sartorial world and all these kind of things. They are always going to say, go for full canvas, a bespoke suit with a lot of handmade details, which for them is the best of the best option. Of course, it's the best option, it's also the most expensive one. I'll tell you a story in this video about Simon Crompton, because when I started my brand in 2015 with a partner in business, which is Javier, that is working right now for Drake's, is the made-to-measure specialist for Drake's, and he was in contact with Simon Crompton, and at that time our brand was making a lot of different accessories, well, not a lot, but few different accessories. One of them, it was a pocket square. We made different pocket squares, and they had a hand roll finish made here in Spain. Well, everything, all the process was made here in Spain, but the printing of the painting and the design that we made, it was a digital printing. There are different ways to making that printing. One is handmade, which is the one that Turbo and Nasser, for example, is using. My friend Javier was working for Turbo and Nasser as well. But anyway, that kind of hand printing with a screen, it limited a bit more the design that you could make. For each color you need to do like a screen printing and then another screen printing. So that's why we were using the digital printing, like many other brands are using, even brands that they were selling the same quality pocket squares, double or even more the price that we were selling them. And Simon just said that that was a rubbish pocket square because it doesn't have the hand printing, because it doesn't have that detail that you cannot notice. You will notice, of course, if you know about that kind of small details, that when it's hand printed it might be better and last a bit longer than digital printing. This is something that you will notice only if you are Simon Crompton, because if not, you will probably not see any difference between that. And actually he asked us if we made the hand printing and we say no, and then is when he said, oh, this is rubbish pocket square, I don't wear that kind of things. I respect his opinion, of course, but this is just to show you how they are like into the handmade details, into the that kind of super sartorial bespoke world. Of course, if you are looking and if you have the money to spend in a bespoke suit, of course the pattern is going to be cut handmade for you, the canvas is going to be stitched handmade, of course, for you, that kind of details. To be honest, they are not making a lot of difference between the full canvas that is made with a machine, with the stitching that is made with a machine. That probably is a faster way, of course. If you value that kind of things, the craftsmanship, the handmade buttonhole, that kind of details are important, but they are not going to making a big difference. It's not going to last longer because it's handmade. Probably the pattern, especially if your physique is a bit more complicated, because you have maybe one shoulder really higher than the other, or you have something in your back or whatever thing, then it makes a bit more sense to go for a handmade pattern, which is the biggest difference between bespoke and made to measure, the proper made to measure, because in made to measure we can do a lot of different things. If you have the back like here, or if you have your shoulders going to the back, we can adjust that. We can do a lot of different things nowadays if the made to measure service is not limited. But as I mentioned, there are brands that are limiting this service in purpose because they want to have like the service more easier for the made to measure specialist guy, like Massimo Dutti does, for example, which is a bit limited. If you have a more practical approach like I do to suits, go for a made to measure service. If you need that, go for a made to measure service that offers you a lot of different options and is not limited in any different way, like, oh, we cannot do the lapel bigger than whatever measure, or we cannot do like side adjusters here or there or whatever. And when we have a tie that it says that it has hand roll, these corners, these borders are hand rolled, they have two different ways, especially if they are Italians, to make them. One is called, I think, rollino in Italian, which is when the border here, the corners, it has like, that curve that thin that when you touch it you feel it, like, oh, it feels like that. But we don't do that kind of rollino. I think it's called like that in Italian. We do a free-fall handmade construction, which to me is important because it makes, and without the lining, without any lining inside, which to me it makes the tie better, the knock of the tie is better. That's my opinion, of course, but in terms of the time that this is going to last, I don't think it makes any difference. Well, depends also the material, the composition of the lining, because there are ties that could be also made in Italy with the polyester lining here, and that polyester lining is going to crease that part, is going to have that kind of creases that they don't disappear after when you take off your tie and you leave it just hanging there, or even they don't disappear, they don't recover the original position of the fabric. That's why we do prefer things without the lining, especially for the ties, but there are also linings of wool or even linings of cashmere, if I'm not wrong. Therefore, that depends on your preference. But for accessories, there are a few details that I will say that are a bit more important, like this kind of handmade construction, the hand-rolled borders of a pocket square that doesn't look and feel as good as when it's handmade, which for a pocket square are something that could be visible here and is going to last really long time even if it's handmade, because it's not, you know, it's not going to suffer. Just a pocket square or a tie that is going to be here hanging is not going to suffer with washing, is not going to be in contact with a lot of other things. It makes more sense to me to go for handmade details for accessories or something that is going to be more visible. But on the other hand, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to go for a handmade details for a shoe. If it's a Goodyear welted or even Blake stitching, which is the stitching all around, Blake is more flexible, it's more Italian, it has a bit less quality, I would say, or less consideration, but this is still a good sign of quality. It's not like a glued cement construction of the sole, it's better than that. If it has that, I don't mind if it has handmade detail or handmade stitching. That is not going to make any big difference in terms of the longevity of the shoes. Or even the vast shoes, which I have one pair of them, the ones that are made in Budapest, they are made with a hand-welded Goodyear construction, which it doesn't, to me, to be honest, make any difference between Crompton Jones that I have or Carmina's that they have just a Goodyear construction, Goodyear welded construction with a machine. That to me is just detail for you to know, like, oh, I value that kind of craftsmanship, but that is not going to make the shoes last longer than the other shoes. If you value that, I respect that, but I wanted to talk about this because, you know, when you are into this world and you are starting, there are a lot of influencers saying, no, handmade this, handmade that, and there are a few things that to me doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, for a shirt, don't go, and I made a video about this just recently, but don't go for this kind of handmade details for a shirt. The shirt is going to suffer a lot with a lot of washing, a lot of wears, and the cuffs and the collar is going to suffer more, and you don't mind, at least I think you don't mind, if it's hand stitched or if the buttonholes are handmade or whatever. At least I think so. And let me know in the comments below if you think so as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.